International Mother Language Day. Mother language is always a source through which we can express ourselves very clearly. It can hold every emotions that we want to express. Mother language has such an important role in framing our thinking, emotions, and spiritual world because the most important stage of our life, childhood, is spent in its imprints. As you all know, India is a land of diversity. From Kanyakumari to Kashmir, we have so many different languages and to all Indians, Sanskrit is our unifying language. We all have heard about Vasudeva Kudumpakam, right? What does that mean? The whole world is one family. So, Sanskrit is a unifying power that breaks all the barriers and unifies every language, making the whole world one. The Sanskrit language is one of the most magnificent, the most perfect, the most prominent, and wonderfully sufficient literary instrument developed by the human mind. Today, we have one of the eminent personality, Dr. Sampadananda Mishra sir, to mark the beginning of our International Mother Language Day. So, to welcome sir and introduce him, let me call Sneha to tell about the session, Samskritam, a unifying Shakti. Over to you, Sneha.
Namashivaya, one and all present. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker, Dr. Sampadananda Mishra sir, who is working now as a professor at the Rashtram School of Public Leadership, Rishihud University, Sonipat. Now, to speak about him, Mishra sir has spoken at various conferences, seminars, literary and religious festivals, both nationally and internationally, on varied topics like Sanskrit, Indian culture, yoga, and education, which speaks a lot about his passion for oration. In addition, Mishra sir is a devotee of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. He is familiar with their writings and feels comfortable in delivering lectures on the philosophy and practice of Sri Aurobindo's yoga. His oration is not just confined to our country, but internationally too. He has been to the USA several times for giving lectures, conducting workshops, and participating in conferences and seminars. He is one of the keynote speakers in the WAVES conference that took place in Trinidad and Tobago in the year 2010. Talking about his achievements, Mishra sir has founded and launched the first ever 24 hours Sanskrit radio called Divyavani Sanskrit Radio, and is single-handedly managing the entire content since its inception in 2013. And not forget to mention, in the year 2014, Dr. Mishra founded Samskrita Bala Sahitya Parishad with the aim of creating, evaluating, and propagating children's literature in Sanskrit. Also recently, Mishra sir has launched a monthly e-magazine for children in Sanskrit called Saptavarna. He is also the recipient of many honorary awards like the President's Award, Maharshi Badarayana Vyasa Samman 2011 for his outstanding contribution to Sanskrit, Senior Fellowship Award for carrying out his research on the Vedic art of multiple concentration, Literary Excellence Award for his contribution to Sanskrit language and literature, and Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay recognition of Re-Engineering India 2010-20 by Rethink India organization. So, dear friends, it's my privilege to present to you our beloved guest of honor, Dr. Sampadananda Mishra sir. So, let us all welcome Mishra sir to the spotlight. So, please.
Namaskar to all of you, and in the beginning, my heartfelt thank to the organizers, the youth wing of the Mata Sri Amritanandamayi Ashram. So today is an auspicious day from at least two angles. One is that the world is celebrating International Mother Tongue Day. On another occasion, especially for me, being a devotee and Anugami follower of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, today is 144th birth anniversary of the Divine Mother. So you all can see the photographs of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother behind me. So she was born in 1878, 21st of February. It is not by coincidence that the UNESCO chooses this date to celebrate the date which is the birth date of the mother, who had immense love for India. In fact, what she said in 1967 while addressing a group of teachers, so she said that every child born in India must learn Sanskrit, as every child born in France has to learn French. She also said that Sanskrit must be taught in a manner by going back to its origin, by going back to the root sounds and linking it with every Indian language. Today, though, like we celebrate this day, International Mother Tongue Day, or in Indian language we call it Matru Bhasha Divas. It is necessary that we should celebrate such a day, but how should we celebrate? And what comes out of this celebration is a question that we all Indians must ask ourselves. Today the situation is that we should have celebrated, or in India, all the events which are happening to celebrate Mother Tongue Day must have been in any of the mother tongue. But India is so vast a country with so diverse aspects of life, many different kinds of people, many different kinds of practices, many different kinds of, especially languages, that it is not easy, it is not practical and possible to speak in one language and then everyone will understand. And today, the sad situation is that none of the Indian languages, none of the mother tongues or the regional languages or languages of India has attained to that status where that language, something is delivered in that language which can be understood by every Indian. That role, instead of any Indian language, a foreign language is playing which we are speaking. So we all are so familiar with a foreign language. I do not have any objection with this language, but this is a language which we all must learn and all must know, so then we can interact with the rest of the world. We can have a greater world view and understanding of the world and people and culture from across the world, but it should not be done at the cost of our own languages. This is what has happened in Bharat, that we have sacrificed our own language, own culture, own practice, ourselves, our own souls, and then we have become a slave, we have become slaves of something which doesn't belong to us, which is not originated here. So we should accept, assimilate whatever is to be assimilated, which is the beauty of our dharma, beauty of our Sanskriti, beauty of our nation, beauty of our temperament, but at the same time, we have to take care that we preserve our own language, our own Sanskriti, and anything that is ours. Sri Aurobindo once said that the nation which cannot sustain, preserve, and which cannot give due respect to its languages, so it doesn't live a full life of its own. So language is extremely important for a nation to keep it. But what is that language that we should preserve? So then, by preserving that one language, everything else is preserved. Today, there is, especially when we come to the languages, India being extremely rich nation with regard to language. We're linguistically the richest country. But we keep fighting against each other based on our linguistic identity. So we feel so identified with our own language. But at the same time, this identity, this regional identity, one must preserve. There's no doubt about it. One should love one's own language, but one should truly love one's own language. If someone can love one's own language, I think the greatest message we must spread on days like this, the International Mother Tongue Day or Matrabhasha Divas, that everyone should pay utmost respect to one's own language. And if one truly loves one's own language, one can never hate the language of anyone else. Because what matters is not this language or that person's language, that state language or this state language, but what should matter is the language itself, the bhasha itself. So it can have various forms, but fundamentally all languages have certain principles, fundamental principles. All languages have certain things which are common. So every language has its own poetic beauty. Every language has its own structural beauty. Every language has its own vibrational power. So when we contemplate on these fundamental aspects of the languages, I don't see anything where we should hate another language and then pay respect only to the language which belongs to us, belongs to our region. So once one starts falling love in with one's own language, that person can never hate any language. So as long as hatredness exists towards any language, it shows that one has not studied, one has not gone to the depth of one's own language. These are all superficial fight. So love the language, love each language. This should be our sankalpa on this day, that if we are celebrating International Mother Tongue Day, we should make a sankalpa on this day that we will never have any hatredness for any language. We should have utmost love and respect as we have for our own language. We should have for rest of the languages in the world, not just in India. So we should never express any kind of envy, hatredness, negative elements towards any language. So that is how we preserve the spirit of the languages. We enter into the spirit of the language and we start living the truth of behind the language. Okay. So coming back to our topic, the Sanskrit language as a unifying force. In India, though there are many languages, many dialects, yet each language contains something which has something to do building unity, unifying the rest. Every language has. It is not just Sanskrit which has. It is through Odia we can unify. It is through Tamil we can unify. It is through Malayalam we can unify. If we can understand those deeper aspects of the language. But most of the aspects of the unifying factor, what unifies? When we contemplate and we start little, comparing all the Indian languages with Sanskrit, which is an ancient most language like that of Tamil, like that of, Greek, Latin, Lithuanian, Chinese, and many other primitive languages. So we should not even think and then fight over this aspect that okay, whether Tamil is the oldest language or Sanskrit is the oldest language or Odia is the oldest language or Bengali is the oldest language, which language has come from what. The moment we say that one language has influenced the other language, so we are trying to prove the supremacy of one language which influences. So instead of using that one language has influenced the other language, so it is always better to use like how the different languages have shared their experiences with each other, how they have enriched each other. This is what one sees the beauty here in Indian languages, that you can find the components, the sharing is so rich that how each language has played a role in enriching the other. That's the beauty of all our languages. And that's the component that we find in Sanskrit, which has a greater unifying force, that it can unite. And we see that the moment like anyone who has studied Sanskrit properly with good amount of vocabularies, analyzing the vocabularies, its root sounds, the formation of these words, and has a greater depth of this language, can see that these vocabularies, root sounds, the structure, everything is so beautifully one finds in other Indian languages. Most of the regional languages of India, if you contemplate on their grammar, grammatical structure, grammar books, even sometimes the grammar books of regional languages are written in Sanskrit. We say the Prakrit is another language, which is the modified language. Now we see Prakrit, most of the the grammar books of Prakrit language and Pali language, they're written in Sanskrit. So we see in Sanskrit, in the structure of Sanskrit, in the root sounds of Sanskrit, in the formation of words of Sanskrit, the principles of the formation of the words, that Sanskrit has immense potentiality in not just unifying but enriching the rest of the languages. And on another side, when Sanskrit as an independent language itself lost its appearance, lost its own identity as a spoken language, so many people even call Sanskrit as a dead language, not very widely spoken language. But if we analyze the regional languages of India, every regional language has preserved Sanskrit. You can see how Sanskrit is living through all the regional languages of India. Every regional language has played a major role in preserving Sanskrit, in taking forward Sanskrit. So in that way, if Sanskrit as an independent language, if at all some people say it is dead, it is not widely spoken, but it is widely living through all the Indian languages. There are many components in Sanskrit which Sanskrit as an independent language has lost. The root sounds are lost. Lost in the sense it has not been recorded. Many aspects of the usages are lost. Lost means it is not in use now. But those root sounds, derived words, usages, certain other peculiarities and nuances are existing in the regional languages. I have seen my language being Odia. I have seen many words which are there in Odia, the root of which is there in Sanskrit, but Sanskrit has lost the words derived from that root sound. The root exists, but the derived words from that root sound, they do not exist, but that exists in Odia. So this is how we can see a deeper study of Sanskrit and deeper study of one's own language. One can find that how beautifully much of the fundamental aspects, components, and the nuances of the language, they are preserved in almost all regional languages. And Sanskrit provides that key, because rest of the regional languages have not preserved. We don't find the system of root sounds, the system of root sounds. And today, when we go to study any of our mother tongue, we see that every regional language has four different kinds of words. We find words which are known as tat sama. Now, all the bhasha vigyanis or the uh, scientists of language, linguists, you can say, philologists. So you ask them, like they have uh, uh, they have analyzed the words of the regional languages, and they put it that there are these four types of words which exist in the regional languages of India. Every language has these four kinds of words. Which are these words? There are tat sama words. Tat sama. Now tat sama, I put it on the chart box. Tat sama meaning like that, exactly like that, similar to. So these tatsama words are the Sanskrit words used in the regional languages as it is with the same meaning. For example, the word hasta, karuna, kripa, dana, these are words which are used as it is in most of the regional languages, almost all, you can say, with a little modification maybe from the sound point of view, but they carry the same meaning. So this is the first type of words that we find, which are the Sanskrit words. Then we have something called tadbhava, or derived from that. Tadbhava words derived from that. So when we say derived from that, say for example, we say hasta, which is a pure Sanskrit word, but when one uses hath, it is from hasta. So hasta is the original word, but some people, some languages, they use hasta also, they use when it comes to write literature, the sahitya, and they use hasta as a very refined word, but at the same time in the colloquial form they use hatha or hath or hath. So that comes from the original Sanskrit word hasta. So that's why this is called tadbhava. Then the third type of word is called vaideshika. That means foreign language. Foreign language. borrowed from foreign languages, like the words which we have borrowed from English, the words which we have borrowed from Portuguese language, the words which we have borrowed from Arabic language, the words which we have borrowed from any other language is the Vaideshik language, not the languages from within the country, from outside country. These are the foreign language, Vaideshika Sabda. Then the fourth category is Desaja. Desaja means it's a pure colloquial word which is not derived from anything. So this is where the regional languages, though colloquial words are very, very unique to every regional language, they're small in number, and nowadays, because of the introduction of English and use of much English, so we have more foreign words than Desaja words. We have more Desaja words, but we are not using the Desaja words. We are using more of foreign words. We are using maximum English words. For example, like the situation of every regional language in India today is in danger. The Sahitya, you hardly find enriching Sahitya, enriching literature. The reason is that we are more using a language which is not ours. There is so much of importance that we give to English in our day-to-day life at the cost of our own language, that most of the regional languages have dropped, as many of our own words are lost. Even we try to remember what could be the word for this. There's so much of English that we are using in our regional languages. So what is it that can save us? What is it that can, help us in reviving our own languages, reviving the lost components of our own languages? What is the way out? When we think of that, there comes the role of Sanskrit. Because of its richness in vocabulary, richness in root sounds, richness in preserving the whole knowledge system, richness in the formation of new words, the system that it has of forming new words. It's amazing. So that is why every Indian must, if one wants to understand one's own language, the richness of one's own language, one can study Sanskrit and then see how one can even start appreciating one's own language and one's own literature by learning Sanskrit. So Sanskrit helps enriching us, enriching our language, enriching our literature. So that is the reason every Indian must be acquainted with this language. So then one becomes empowered to appreciate, to understand, to go deep, and then discover the secret chamber of the spirit of one's own language and one's own literature. So to talk a little bit about the Sanskrit language and its richness, you all must have heard the name Panini. So Panini is considered to be the father of Sanskrit Vyakarana, Sanskrit grammar. So because of lack of other words in English, we are using grammar for Vyakarana, but grammar is different from Vyakarana. So Vyakarana can be called grammar, but it is not the only meaning. The purpose of Vyakarana is different. The purpose of grammar is different. It has its own purpose, and Vyakarana has its own purpose. Though grammar can be included in Vyakarana, but Vyakarana is not grammar in an absolute sense. So here each and every word in Sanskrit is conscious of its own history. Each and every word is conscious of its own history. This is something that we must understand and then while using our own regional language, our own mother tongue, we can apply the same principle and raise our language to a higher level. That is why Sanskrit has lot of things to offer to enrich rest of the Indian languages, rest of the Indian literature. Not, it is not influencing, but it is contributing, it is sharing its own experience. So it is giving many things by which each language can become enriched, each language can become rich. So Panini, in his book Ashtadhyay, which is the famous book Ashtadhyay, so in Ashtadhyay, Panini gives a list of approximately 2000 root sounds. That's a very big number of root sounds which is preserved in Sanskrit. So anyone who is familiar with Sanskrit language will agree with me, and we cannot say the exact number, but millions and millions of words can be derived from this approximately 2000 root sounds preserved or listed by Panini in Ashtadhyay, or as a part of Ashtadhyay. So millions and millions of words. This again shows that if we are familiar with these root sounds, we can create as many words as we can which are needed to manage our day-to-day life, to see the challenges of the life, the challenges which life offers, to create words for new objects, new ideas, new experiences. We have a fabulous system of root sounds and the formation of new words. Day before yesterday, I was in a school in Dehradun addressing the students and the teachers, and the purpose was to orient them towards Sanskrit. So I asked them, just, and each one of you sitting here, present here, so you can also agree with me that if we observe how many different words in our day-to-day life we use for which there is no option but English. There's no option. We have no words in our own languages. Even the simple things like water bottle. No one uses a word which is from one's own language. We use, while using our own language, how many English words for small thing. We use computer, phone, mobile, charger, online, advance. If we observe that without these words, our life is no life at all. We cannot manage any life. But for all these words, we have no word in our own regional languages. Even though we have certain words for certain objects, certain ideas, which can be replaced because of our mindset, we are knowingly also, we are not using the words of our own language. We prefer to use the English because there is a mindset, it has so much sunk into our consciousness that if we speak in English, we will be given prestige. If we speak English, we will be given prestige. So English has become a prestigious language for us. But while using this language, while using English very well, one should learn it well. One should also speak in English, write in English, and understand in English. But as I mentioned, not at the cost of one's own language. So the similar capacity one should have for one's own language, using one's own language. But if we need to revive, most of the regional languages in India are in danger because every language has lost its original force, its original vocabularies, original ideas. You starts expressing through it a culture which is very, very different from us. We are polluting our own language, our own culture, our own consciousness by confusing it with many foreign elements. Where is the originality? Where is the purity? Where is that rich literature which has that original force? If we contemplate on that, it is a very, very sad situation. And how Sanskrit can help because of its inner strength, because of its scientific and systematic structure, because of its transparent system of root sounds and the formation of words, very systematic formation of words, it can create enormous amount of words and supply it to the rest of the languages. And every regional language can use such words. So while addressing to the children in Dehradun, I told them, I gave them this example because I had a microphone to speak. I said, you are, 80 students who are sitting here. Tell me, and you also belong to different language communities. Someone is coming from the Tamil community, someone is coming from Hindi community, someone is coming from Bengali community. At least 4 or 5 or 6 language communities are here. But tell me, what would be the word for microphone? Absolutely no answers. But we can easily create a word if we have little knowledge of Sanskrit. If we are familiar with certain root sounds, we can easily create a word for any object that appears, any object that comes to our notice for our use. We can create a word and then start using, and the same word can be used by any other languages in India. So for microphone, we created a word, Dhvani Grahakam, a Shabda Grahakam. Where is the difficulty in understanding this Dhvani Grahakam? So Dhvani or Shabda is word for sound. Grahakam is for receiver. So anyone who receives, anything which receives, grasps, seizes is Grahakam. Combine these two words and then make a single word, Dhvani Grahakam, a Shabda Grahakam, and then start using it. So Sanskrit offers a great practical solutions to much of our problems connected with the languages, much of linguistic problems that we face. So Dhvani Grahakam or Shabda Grahakam is a word which can be used, which is easy to understand, which is logical, and which points out to the very functionality of the object, the principal function of the object that is referred to by this word. Similarly, we use the word Dhvani Vardhakam. Dhvani Vardhakam. Dhvani again is sound, and Vardhakam means what amplifies. So you have an amplifier connected with the microphone. So microphone receives the sound and sends it to the amplifier. From amplifier, it goes to the speaker, and depending upon what volume you put, so the speaker makes you listen either in slow or in loud. So Dhvani Vardhakam is a word for amplifier. For the speaker, we use the word Udvahakam. Udvahakam. Udvahakam means like it raises the sound. It raises the sound from the low volume to the higher volume. So loudspeaker, Udvahakam. So in the same way, if we can see what are the different language, different words that we are using in our day-to-day life, without which we cannot even manage, and those are the English words without which we cannot manage, we can make a little effort of creating words for those and replacing those words and start using in our regional languages. This is where Sanskrit, as I said, because of its own structure, own system, because of its richness, is immensely helpful in creating new words and supplying it to the rest of the regional languages. Another important thing is that Sanskrit is a pan-Indian language. Every region in India has, though not equally, but sufficiently contributed towards the whole knowledge system that we have. Starting from, you look at all the acharyas, Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, and all the different acharyas. So they belong to different parts of the nation. If we look at the whole gamut of Sanskrit literature that we have, every part of India has contributed immensely in creating this literature. It is not that one particular region has contributed fully to Sanskrit. Every region of Bharat has contributed towards this knowledge system. And when we come in contact, by learning Sanskrit, when we come in contact with the knowledge system, the rich knowledge system which we have in Sanskrit, preserved in Sanskrit, so it gives a pan-Indian sense that how India, the whole of India, has contributed in creating such a rich knowledge system. We understand we understand many things about different regions, their mindset, their customs, their language, many subtle nuances, differences, and what is there in what region, what practices. So we can dwelling upon this by diving deep into the rich knowledge system which is there in Sanskrit. We can see the whole of Bharat in that. This is the true Bharatiya Jnanam. It is not just the Jnanam, the knowledge which is only of a particular region. So in this manner, we see that Sanskrit, because of its systematic nature, because of its scientific nature, because of its transparent system of root sounds, because of its very systematic principles of the formation of words, because of its mantric force, because of its rhythmic nature, because of its how things have been preserved in the language itself, it indeed is a great unifying force which has the power to unite all of us. All our languages, all our differences will get united in this language when we start using this language in our day-to-day life. So therefore, my proposition has always been, for last 3 decades, I have been promoting Sanskrit along with other regional languages. So I have been saying this, that along with all regional languages, Sanskrit must become a part of our education system, must become a part of our life. Then we can contribute positively towards the globalization in a true sense. And for our ancient seers and sages, the true globalization is Yatra Vishwam Bhavati Ekanidam, where the whole world becomes one nest, starts living under in one nest. Udara charitanam to Vaisudheva kutumbakam. Samanam manah sahachittamesha. So this is what is the message of true globalization by our ancient seers and sages. So with these words, I bring an end to my sharing, and if there are questions, so I will take it up. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, sir. Just realized how much we take our regional languages for granted and that we glorify the English language at the cost of our own local languages. So next, we would like to move on to the question answer session. So if any one of you has any question that you would like to ask Mishra sir, you can put that in the chat box. So they might be typing. So in that note, sir, I had this question in mind, like on a very hypothetical note. So what if all of a sudden, we know that we have two official languages in India, English and Hindi. So what if all of a sudden, realizing the importance of the Sanskrit language, a country decides to shift the official language to Sanskrit from English? So what's your take on that?
See, whatever changes have to come, it must come with the consent of all. No one should feel that something is imposed on us. So if it is every Indian who must feel what should be that language. Every Indian must feel without any anything in the mind of any negative, like okay, this is this, that this is right, that is right, this is wrong, that is wrong. No, very impartially every Indian must consent to that language. Then a healthy solution can be brought. But Sanskrit, of course, will play an important role because no one will object to Sanskrit. So if you say that Bengali should become the official language, then rest of the India will object to it because it belongs to a particular region. If you say Hindi should become, then it belongs to a particular region. If you say Tamil should become, it belongs to a particular region. If you say Kannada should become, it belongs to a particular region. If you say Sanskrit should become, no one will object because it doesn't belong to any particular region. It belongs to the whole of India. Sanskrit is not of Odias, not of Tamilians, not of the Telanganas, not of the Bengalis. It belongs to everyone. So it doesn't create that sense of, like regional division. It's pan-Indian in its spirit. So that is what people have to understand and then give their consent. Yes, there are many online dictionaries. So one of the online dictionaries that you can refer to is this is what I'll put it on the chat box. Okay, here there will be a little box where you can type the English word, whatever English word you want to know what will be the Sanskrit. So it will give you the Sanskrit word for it. Also, you can go to what is it called, the colon. I'll again put the on the chat box. So if you go to this particular site, this is called the Digital Dictionaries of South Asian Languages. Okay, it's called the Digital Dictionaries of South Asia. So here you will find many Indian languages, the online version of the dictionaries of many Indian languages. Okay, So these are the two which I'm giving, but there are plenty others also. There is a lot of work which has happened to popularize Sanskrit and make Sanskrit useful by using many digital tools. Yeah, so I will suggest that you can go to this language curry application. Language curry application is the topmost language learning apps in India, and it offers few Indian languages, but its main language is Sanskrit. So we have actually, I am the mentor to this company, and the entire content of Sanskrit which I have created. So this application has over 1 million people from 180 countries learning Sanskrit through this application. So there is say that the traces of medical, non-medical, and commerce studies are present in the Sanskrit books. What are your thoughts related to? Yes, see, Sanskrit is not just confined to certain, spiritual and religious, moral, ethical texts. It's not just a language of prayer, but many. I have put the links to the websites, and Language Curry is an application on iOS or Android. You can just go to the Play Store and then search for Language Curry, and you can download that. And if you want to go to the website, languagecurry.com, and from here you can also see that we have launched a children's magazine called Saptavarna. So we come out with this magazine, which becomes almost like a Sanskrit learning book every month with new content and very innovatively put, and it is available through the Language Curry application. So you have to subscribe it, and this is also another important work of Sanskrit lovers. So with your subscription, we get a little support from you to sustain the program. You can spread the words and then inspire others also to subscribe to it, and then you learn through this magazine in a very innovative way. Okay. So I was answering to this that Sanskrit is not just a language of prayers and rituals. It has many non-secular, many scientific texts. So that's why I mentioned that in almost every field, whether you talk of physics, chemistry, biology, economics, you talk about flower making, you talk about metallurgy, you talk about any branch of science, Sanskrit has many original contributions in that field. So that is why the knowledge system here is very, very rich, very, very rich. So you want medical science, you want engineering, you want any other science, material science subjects, these are there in Sanskrit. Much of the manuscripts which are not yet published, much are published, and one can find much rich content belonging to different scientific branches of knowledge in Sanskrit. It's not just confined to rituals and prayers and some spiritual texts. I hope this answers to your question. So I don't see any other question, so maybe you can take it forward.
Also, sir, there was one question again from my side. Like, in spite of Sanskrit being a very widely used language in the past, why is it that it's very not much famous or taken into consideration, much given importance in the present day, especially today's youth?
Yeah. So it has a lot of reasons. The first thing is that the whole Sanskrit tradition, it started collapsing a little bit, from 12th century onward, when many invaders started coming to India, started imposing their own language, their own culture. That's one reason. And another thing is, like, there is a, this has been a phase for centuries for every Indian here, or Indians as a whole, that we have not uh, been, we are not giving so much of importance to our own language and culture and our tradition. So there is a mindset that through the course of time, in our evolutionary journey, somewhere we lost contact with our own soul, our own spirit, and this is where we lost our original thought power. That could be a greater reason for, like, why did we lose it. So that is what, like, though it is lost as an independent language, much of the things which should have been there, like its spoken form, its written form, is very, very rich. But at the same time, I would like to mention that even though we see that Sanskrit is not seen much in India, yet if you just, become little acquainted with what's happening in Sanskrit, you can see that Sanskrit is so alive in this country. You have 18 Sanskrit universities which are running by the support of the government of India. You have from 1970s, you have a daily news bulletin coming in Sanskrit. You have weekly Sanskrit news bulletin broadcast through the Prasar Bharati, through the television, DD National. So you have every year so many awards from the government of India are given for the creative writings in Sanskrit. Sahitya Academy has provision for all Indian languages, and Sanskrit is a part of it. In our constitution, it's a part that it's our language. So for the promotion of this language, for the preservation of this language, so there is much work which is happening. So Sanskrit is alive in many ways, but we, because of our engagement with English, because of our engagement with something very superficial, artificial, and because we are more, our mindset has become more of imitating than being ourselves. We have been imitating the rest of the world. We are trying to become someone else, not we ourselves. So that is the mentality, that mindset is one of the bigger reasons for our failure. But the position of Sanskrit as a living language is much better than many regional languages, I can say. Is there any other question?
Seems like there are no more questions, and it's already running out of time. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with this beautiful session and answering some of our questions with utmost delight, which shows how much you're passionate about the language Sanskrit. What more do we need on this special occasion of International Mother Language Day? Thank you again. So now I would like to ask Ganga to take over. Ganga, please.
Thank you, Sneha. Thank you, sir, for such a thoughtful session with a lot of great messages. Like, as sir mentioned, every child born in India should learn and also should know the importance of Sanskrit. in our land, India, every celebration, every culture that we see around has some or other significance that they have to share with us. Thank you, sir, for answering all our questions so patiently. One thing that striked my mind is that if we love our language, if we respect our language, we cannot hate other language. And that message is something very important for today. And as sir said, we can unify languages by understanding the deep meaning, the spirit of the language. It was really understanding like how sir put up the thought of sharing between languages, which have enriched the beauty of different language in India. And the four categories, Tatsama, Tadbhava, Vaideshika, and Deshaja. I also agree to the statement like most of the regional language in India is in danger because the reason the same as sir said, we don't know the origin. It has lost its origin. So as the present generation, it is our responsibility to preserve it and make everyone know the importance of language. And sir also gave many examples how to form words and how to create words. And this session will always be memorable as it has shared so many thoughts that we have to go behind, that we have to think and let others also know about it. Now, thank you so much, sir. Thank you once again. And to all of you who all have joined today for the session and made it really memorable. And thank you so much.